And we're back. Mr. Nick Abner here. And we got
Andrew Ron,
Mr. Sean. Feel weird calling
welcome.
myself Mr. Nick Abner here. As Andrew was saying, we clearly didn't have a wardrobe change.
Yeah, there was no change in the
I
wardrobe. We're
thought
working on
about
it.
it. I thought about just stripping, but no, we're not going to do that.
Next time. We'll do
Next
it
time,
next time.
you
Yeah.
you might see us naked in one of these videos, at least top. You know, it could
Definitely.
happen. It Crazier things have happened. So we were kind of talking. We got off on the tangent of culture, and so we want to kind of elaborate on culture and bring that more into this conversation. Culture, and so culture can work if you're creating a culture by yourself, but culture really works when you're bringing your community into your culture. So there's culture and persona, right? So there's like, there's you and who you are and the things you say and how you act and wearing robes. And then there's culture where you're developing a language. Like we have actually developed a language to be known by. When we hop on, say a hangout or a webinar, it's pretty well known that you're going to experience some discomfort in your head uh, towards the end of the webinar, what we call
A little
zonk.
bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. There's going to be a little turbulence, but most people like it. Most people, it's an enjoyable discomfort. It's like, this is weird, but this is really working for me. And there's something to be said about shaking things up in your noggin and kind of stirring up the creative juices, and that's what we tend to do, and that's how come many of our hangouts and webinars are so engaging and such. So creating a culture, one of the first things, because we kind of just started to do it, right, Andrew? It wasn't like we thought, I'm going to create a culture. We just, we have this kind of thing going on that we goof around quite a bit. So we brought it into our conversations, and we were like, okay, this is really working. Let's keep going with it. But if I were to look back and say, okay, this is where we started, one of the first things that we started with was taking elements of who we are as a person and how we engage on, off video, off webinar and such, which can sometimes be really goofy. And we made a decision to start kind of just bringing just a little bit of that in. We brought, like, one of our webinars, we started it a little weird and people loved it. So we're like, okay, let's bring a little bit more into it. And people seem to love that too. So really, creating culture always starts with who you are at your core, who you are without the sensors. So that's, I think, would you agree with that? Like, is that kind of how we started building culture and developing it?
Yeah, I mean it was a fairly organic process,
Mm-hmm.
but there was a little bit of intentionality because we were kind of pushing the limits a little bit. And we would push the limits and we'd kind of see, hey, what's the feedback to what we're doing? Like, did we get too weird? Did we like, pull back the veil too much? Did we stray from just kind of strict professional, marketing oriented training? And we, we're kind of testing out the boundaries to see where's that sweet spot. Where's the equilibrium between, and a lot of it's just we were trying to have fun. I mean, honestly, it was a lot of us just trying to, not even trying, I mean, I think succeeding to sort of entertain ourselves, right? But then other people started enjoying that as well. And I've got to give a shout out. One of the first times that I ever encountered the idea of kind of putting this stuff out there was years ago. I was checking out some Eben Pagan material, and Eben Pagan was saying that, most people, he wasn't saying this in like a mean way or anything, but he said most people live somewhat, boring lives. It's very routine. They do the same thing. They go to work, they come home, they eat, they watch some TV, they go to bed, they get up and do it again. Yeah, I've been there, right? I've totally done that before, and it was quite boring. I totally agree. I was living a boring life, and so a lot of people are in just a very, a stressful, tiring grind, and there's not a lot of kind of new and interesting things that kind of shake you up, right? So marketing, it's really important to have marketing be, engaging and different, and boring is the absolute death of marketing. I'm pretty sure that's a quote from Tim Urway. Actually, give him credit where credit is due. But getting back to Evan Payne's point, saying most people live boring lives. Most people know other people with boring lives, right? And it's just a whole bunch of boring stuff, right? So if you want to really enter into these folks' lives and get them to actually change their behavior, change their life, get different results, if you want to kind of include them in your vision of whatever that happens to be, whatever kind of business you happen to be building, and you want to include these folks as your customers, you really got to get in there and shake things up, right? So that's kind of where I think, we weren't necessarily consciously, like I said, again, it started maybe a little bit selfishly, and we were like, well, how we were kind of doing a community-oriented, hangout, within our company, and we were just kind of having fun with it. And what we realized was folks seemed to really enjoy the more, we really did just kind of like, pull back the curtain and just show folks like, hey, this is how we do things. This is what it's like to be a part of, our little culture of, our conversations, and also kind of within our company. Like we like to have fun in our company. That's a huge part of it, is not being super formal. We're kind of a collection of entrepreneurs, and no one really wanted to have a very, corporate style thing happening. So it is much more informal and is much more playful, and we do make a lot of jokes. And if you weren't really a part of our culture, and you kind of were in, we don't really have an office, but if we did, if you entered into our virtual office, so to speak, I mean, I would think some people could be quite rattled, potentially quite even offended, not because we're like mean people or anything, but just it's very, very different. So that's I think how we really kicked things off, and just we realized the more fun we had with it, the more fun other people seemed to have. So it was actually kind of a cool process of being more authentic, being more ourselves, because as Nick said, that's where it starts. It really starts with you just kind of being who you are, and bringing whatever sort of unique, because everyone has their own kind of special language they have with their buddies. So it's kind of bringing that into the business context, and then people are kind of attracted to it. It's like, oh, it's different. This is cool. This is fun. I like it. So yeah. I think that's how we kick it off.
Yeah, exactly. And then it becomes a culture. So I would say in starting your own culture, we already kind of said that it starts with you. What I would suggest you do, if this is something you're genuinely interested in doing because of how powerful it is, plus it's a lot of fun, it makes things more fun for you as well, is to start kind of just putting a little bit in, like we did, is just test something out, see how people respond to it. If they respond negatively, very easily just take it back, no big deal. If you offend a lot of people, if you go way overboard, because that could happen, we've been fortunate enough not to offend too many people with some more crazier stuff, but if you do, just apologize and move on. People tend to forget things within 9 seconds of hearing them anyways, so I wouldn't be too concerned about it. But right now, if this is something you want to do, start building. You build one piece at a time. Culture's kind of brick by brick by brick, and then before you know it, you have a whole house, and that's your culture. And whoever enters your house is indoctrinated into your culture. And it creates this cool atmosphere of like the in crowd and the out crowd. And the out crowd always wants to be on the inside, right? So that creates a very attractive force. Culture really does attract more people to you and to your community.
Absolutely. So I think we're probably going to call it right there, because there's a lot more to say about culture, and I think we're going to probably continue that in a future episode where we discuss, so there's a cliffhanger. So we're going to discuss culture in the broader context, and how you can look at a culture, assess what's happening in that culture, and then understand what you need to do to become a part of that culture. Because this is something that we all do, right? Whether it's corporate America or entrepreneurship or any other kind of culture. I used to be a construction worker. Construction has a certain kind of culture. Nick, I know you've been a part of soccer. You've been a part of CrossFit. There are these cultures, and everyone in that culture has certain things that they believe. They have certain ways that they behave. They have certain books that they read. They have certain shows that they watch, or movies, or some kind of media, right? It could be music, or there's all these things that are like indicators of a certain culture. And so if you're interested in becoming a part of a certain culture, it's really important to recognize these things and then adopt part of, you don't have to like totally, just like whitewash yourself and become a non-entity. But entrepreneurship has a very entrepreneurial culture, and it's important to look at, what are the things. Anyway, we're gonna. I don't want to like get too.
We're almost
deep
getting
into
out of
it
there.
because yeah, I'm starting to get a little bit too much on a roll here, so it's a cliffhanger. But I'm curious to hear in the comments below. I'm curious to hear your feedback about what kind of cultures you either are a part of or would like to be a part of. And I think even deeper, there are probably some, there are probably some. I've totally lost my train of thought.
Yeah, do you like our culture? I would ask that too, right? You like our culture, or don't you? So we'd love to hear from you. We'll see you in the next video.